Good evening, everyone. Say something in chat so that I know you're here.
Gold label quality BiomedRx CBD oil is made from organic hemp that is locally grown, glyphosate-free, gluten-free, non-GMO, homogenized, third-party tested, and CO2 extracted. Visit www.biomedrxcbd.com.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? I hope you can hear me. Let me make sure my mic is still coming through well. Happy Saturday. I have to beg your forgiveness because I have had a very restful day. Of course, you know I'm working on the gateway, all right? The gateway process with through the Monroe Institute.
Gateway, right?
And today was a very restful day, going through not the out-of-body experience, but the preparation or audios for the out-of-body. You know, getting into focus, 10, focus 12, focus 15, and so. It's a very restful experience, very rejuvenating experience, and it's very good for the brain. Speaking of the brain, I wanted to talk to you guys. Let me just do a quick sound check.
It is very good for the brain.
Okay, yeah, so we're doing good. Levels are good. Say something in chat so that I know that you're here. Thanks for joining. I got a couple of good illustrations for you here. We're talking about where we train on the brain when we're doing neurofeedback, because, when you're doing neurofeedback, you have a choice as to where you want to connect the probes on the brain. I've got a few secrets. I got a few tricks because I have a lot of experience. I know my way around the neocortex, and I know how to train and how to affect different areas of behavior and cognition. So before we get into that, I would like to talk about just the basics, okay? And I want to give a shout out to my friends who are now in Oregon at the EEG Institute, the Othmers, very wonderful people, and they are the most knowledgeable people in the neurosciences that I've ever come across. that I know personally, and they provided me with the training for neurofeedback, infralow, alpha, theta, and synchrony neurofeedback. And just a big shout outs to them, right? Now, before I go on, I want to talk about the lobes of the brain. So before we get into all of this information, I want to give you a brain map or two. Let's see. Let's look at this one here. Okay, or maybe this one first. Okay, either one. Now, what we're looking at is over here on, see, I don't know if I can, nope, I can't put my mouse on the screen here so that you can see it. But if you look to the, I'm going to say the left of the screen, right? Your left, right? That pink area, right? That's the frontal lobe. Okay, so that this person is actually looking to your left. His face, his nose is right where the word anticipation and verbs is, right? Okay. And that's a very good place to that's a very good location to train the brain. Okay, because it is good for the initiation of speech. That's the Broca's area. But that pink area, that's the frontal lobe. So that's the area that we will call FP1 and FP2. That's right there on your forehead. All right. So if I kind of go over here to the side to show you, I'm going to go on the side because I want you to still see the illustration. F1 and F2. See right there? F1 and F2. Right? Okay. And now, right to the what we call the temple area, or right above, they're saying imagination. Wow, who could this be? Can't really answer right now. And it's not even ringing on my phone, to be honest with you. But it is trying to come through. So, sorry about that. I don't even know what browser it is that's ringing on right now. Let me see if I can, what I can do. Yes. Yes. Let me share this link. Excuse me, everyone. All right. Thank you for waiting. I had to share this link. We have an audience now in Nigeria as well as in Switzerland. I want to welcome Ifa Bengo as well as Marco watching out from Switzerland. So as you can see here, all of these different areas, right? Motor association cortex right here at the top of the frontal lobe. Imagination right where what you would call your temples are. Well, actually above the temples. I call that the horns, right? The antecuernos. In Spanish, they will be called antecuernos. Okay, and that's a good area for imagination. And then below that would be anticipation and verbs, right? Broca's area. Okay. Now right here on the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe is associated on the blue area, as you can see. You can't see my you can't really see my mouse. Maybe I can stretch this out and kind of bring it a little bit closer. Okay, so you see right there, the temporal lobe, that's the blue area, is associated with auditory processing and sound, but also memory, believe it or not, because memory, I guess a sound is associated with memories. And I know that this is true because, if you're writing about things that were happening to you at different periods of your life, then you just get on, Pandora and you look up music from that era, whether it was music that you listened to or not. It's what your environment was throwing at you at that particular time, and it will put you in a mood to remember the things that you were going through at that particular time in life. Music always has ways to bring back all types of memories. So all of that is processed here in this blue area that we call the temporal lobe. Now, let's go back up to the top because this is kind of getting interesting. All right, now you can see the antecuernos area is what I would call the horns, right? Where the devil's horns would be. That's the area associated with imagination. Broca's area right there, right in that little dot, right above the temples. I guess you could say the temples area. That's for the anticipation of speech, or anticipation and verbs, or the initiation of speech. I want to get that across. If you have someone who has got autism or is on the autism spectrum and they're still nonverbal, you want to hit them on the Broca's area so that you can pull the speech out of them. Right now, it's kind of hard at first because if the kid is still at the stage of pulling the probes off their head and they won't behave, then you have to focus on the frontal lobe, because the frontal lobe is planning, emotion, judgment. See the prefrontal cortex, the pink area? You have to focus on training the prefrontal lobe first, because that's inhibitory control and executive control. So until we get a stable behavior out of the child, once we get stable behavior out of the child and they can sit through the session without ripping the wires off or trying to take the headphones off and whatever, then we can move to the Broca's area so that we can get some speech out of them. We may have to shift from, if the behavior is too bad, you have to make judgment calls, and so I'm not politically correct when this is concerned. When you're dealing with electroencephalograph equipment, you're dealing with expensive equipment, and you really can't afford to have kids, ripping wires off their head and stuff and damaging an electroencephalograph amplifier. So, in these cases, we want to say yes, that is bad behavior. So, when the behavior is too bad, we may have to backtrack. We may have to shift gears to single channel and then do T3 to T4, temporal lobe 3 to temporal lobe 4. Now, that is right here in the area where you see object naming, nouns, right? Wernicke's area, right? Wernicke's area. So you want to train for speech in both of these areas, the little gray island on the left of your screen and the little green island on the right of your screen. The gray is Broca's area. The green is Wernicke's area, right? Because the left has the one on the toward the front, the Broca's area is for the initiation of speech. The one in the back, the Wernicke's area, is for finding the right words to say. It's also for processing language, multiple languages, if you are like me, a linguist, okay? So having a well-developed Wernicke's area is also important. Now we're going to get to this big yellow area. That's called the parietal. Well, no, before we go there, let's go 2 steps back, okay? The big giant green area on the top of your screen on the left. Let's go all the way across, back from the frontal lobe. Okay, that green area on the top is for coordination of physical action, motor association cortex. That whole area, that big whole wide area, right? Especially at the border between that dark green motor association cortex and the imagination, right? Right in between those 2 areas is where I train for procrastination. That is a very, very good area of the brain to train for dealing with procrastination. Okay, right where the G and the I are, where it says imagination, right above there, right between the dark, the 2 different colors of green. So that's a tip right there for you, okay? All right. Now, the pink band. The pink band is the somatosensory band, and the primary motor cortex. Okay, there is an area on that cortex that is corresponding to motion, the command to movement of every part of your body. Okay, and there's a homunculus map I'm going to show you guys later that shows you how much of this motor cortex is dedicated toward the areas of the body that you use the most, like your mouth, your hands, your tongue. It's very interesting to see. The primary somatosensory cortex, the tactile information, right, also has its own homunculus map that's slightly different. It's slightly different. It's not exactly the same, but there is also an area that corresponds to the sensing or the feeling, receiving signals of the neural pathways that come from all of your body. So the purple area receives the signal that the stove is hot when you put your hand on a hot stove, and then the pink area to the left of it immediately snatches your hand away from the hot stove. Okay? Now, so that's the function of that band right there. Now, that band is, of course, very, very powerful for training people who are athletes. And that's where I get a lot of athletes trained, okay? Now, back here in the yellow area, this is the parietal lobe, processing of multisensorial information, sensory association area. That's also a good area for all of your emotional junk. I'm just going to keep it real, okay? That's where we train your crap away. That's also a good area for understanding where you are in your physical environment. It's also a good area for a lot of things, but it's the area that accumulates a large portion. It's one of the areas that accumulates a large portion of dysregulation as a result of the emotional roller coaster that we have to deal with through the vicissitudes of life. And behind here is visual memory, the visual memory cortex, okay? All of the things that you have seen that you remember, all right? And then, of course, the visual cortex. It's interesting the way your eyes are in the front of your head, and it's like a projector. Everything that you see is reflected off the back of your head in your visual cortex, or in your occipital lobe. So that's just enough information for right now. If you want to call in, you can go ahead and call in. I really appreciate everybody. Really appreciate everybody calling in. Visiting. Say something in the chat so that I know you're here. All right. And of course, remember, you can always visit BiomedRxCBD.com and grab some of this delicious 10,000 milligram strength BiomedRx CBD oil. You know what I mean? You can always do that. You can also get some Happy Formula. Happy Formula has cannabigerol. It's got CBD as well as CBG. Cannabigerol is another one of the 125 something cannabinoids that are found in the cannabis plant. And we not only have CBD products at BiomedRxCBD.com, we also have supplements. You guys know all of that. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys another one of our brain maps. I think, yep. This is the one. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay. Take your time and check this brain diagram out. This is beautiful. I like it. Let me see if I can grab it and put it more in the center for you. Block my own face. That's okay. All right. The thing about the brain is it is what it is, right? So, the illustrations are not likely to disagree with each other. They're just going to be more in detail. They're just going to give you the area more in detail. All right. Okay. Executive area for task management. That's what I would say is the area for training for procrastination. All right. Working memory for object recall task. Okay. Solving complex multitask problems. Prefrontal cortex. That's F1 and F2. Okay. I like to train my son there all the time, and he's doing very well with his training. All right. Primary motor area, central sulcus, primary somatosensory cortex. As you can see, coming down the sides. All right. Somatic sensation. The dark blue area. This is a very beautiful illustration. Very well done. Taste. Wernicke's area outlined by dashes. All right. Primary visual cortex. All right. And then you see back there in the cerebellum, in that yellow area in the bottom is the cerebellum. Now, don't underestimate the cerebellum, okay? Because, those of us who like sports, we admire people who have very well-developed cerebellums, all right? The cerebellum is the place where the practice becomes stored. Well, actually, the brain responds positively to repetitive training. in close interval, just like the muscles of the body in all areas of the brain. And I hope you can kind of understand a little bit from what I'm saying here on where we're going to train, where we train you and for what, right? Let me see if I can get a couple of followers and a couple of concurrent viewers, but it seemed like we lost a couple of you guys. All right. Still coming in. All right. So, yeah. So now I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me see. Let me get back here. Make sure my levels are still good. All right. Get those likes up. Comment. Share. Okay. Like I said, certain areas of the brain you learn with time and with practice. This is the protocol guide from the EEG Institute. The EEG Institute is the school that I studied at for neurofeedback, and yeah, I mean, we have different areas of the brain. Like I said, I train along the somatosensory band for athletes. I definitely focus, I encourage everyone to focus on the frontal lobe for inhibitory control and executive control. I definitely tell people to focus on this area right here for procrastination, okay, F3. We use the brain maps. We use different skulls. I don't just use those heads as hat racks, although it does appear that way. But no, I use the heads to explain to people where on the brain we're going to train and for what reason and at what frequency. Remember, frequency is also an important part of training. Okay, so tomorrow is my mother's birthday. Excuse me. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Mwah, to my mother in New Orleans. So I just had to get that out there. And I sent her sent her some things for birthday. I'm not going to talk about it here. But yeah, happy birthday to my mom. And I hope you guys are doing wonderful out there. See, my mom got me all discombobulated and distracted. What was I saying? Okay, yeah, just the different areas of the brain that you train for. Kids on the autism spectrum, kids with Asperger's, you want to focus right here, okay? On both sides, okay? That area is good for, just kind of loosening them up and getting rid of that Asperger's kind of behavior. Let me think. Yeah, there are a lot of different areas of the brain that you learn as time goes on that are good for training for specific things for specific people. You can say that 2-channel EEG, 2-channel neurofeedback is more powerful than single channel because you are actually using 2 different channels, and 2-channel EEG is absolutely necessary for doing synchrony, for hemispheric synchronization, synchrony neurofeedback. But there are cases in which single channel neurofeedback is more effective. And if you're dealing with instabilities, if you're dealing with emotional instabilities, now if you're dealing with a child that's on the spectrum and the child's very young, you can't really say that you're dealing with emotional instabilities in the same way that you're dealing with when you're dealing with someone who is of an age of reason, where they are having emotional instabilities that are going back to information that they are capable of processing. And that's a very different thing. That's a very distinct thing. And so with people who are of the age of reason, T3 to T4, right? T3 to T4, right here, right behind the ears. The temporal lobe, 3 to T4, okay, is a very good area because you're training across all three of the cortexes of the brain, right? You're training across all three of the cortexes of the brain as well as the brain stem itself. And so that's good for just getting a person stable. When you want to then start to uncork their pent up, emotions, if they're dealing with a lot of emotional dysregulation, a lot of emotional garbage, T4 to P4, P4, right here on the right hand side, okay? Temporal lobe to parietal lobe, T4 to P4 is a very good pair to train for loosening that up. Now, you may actually get some emotional instability as a result of training there at first, and you can always calm that down by getting the frontal lobe involved by training T4 to F2 to kind of compensate for that emotional instability. I personally am a fan of letting it flow and uncorking it and feeling comfortable with yourself enough to cry if you are inspired to cry, and allowing those emotions to take their respective courses. But to each his own or her own, to each their own. And I work patiently and lovingly with all clients to help them deal with repressed memories and repressed emotional baggage to the best of their ability, however they can. So yeah, if you want to train in the modality of infra-low, I would suggest that you can focus on those areas that I described and then move into, if you do 2-channel infra-low, the sky's the limit. You can use the entire brain, okay, the entire brain. Focus, inhibitory control and executive control, planning and procrastination, right across the headphone area, the somatosensory band for athletes, parietal lobe to deal with past emotional trauma, emotional junk, okay, and as well as occipital lobe. When you're squeezing out the pain of emotional trauma, you want to work your way from the parietal slowly down to the occipital. You want to do it like a line. You want to get very close and chew at the back of the head all the way down until you get everything out. Now, you can start uncorking that with infra-low and then continue focusing on the parietal and occipital lobe area, especially the junction between that area, as you go into alpha theta, because in alpha theta, you're working in the 2 frequency zones that are perfect for digging up emotional garbage, emotional junk, unprocessed emotions, and bringing them to the surface. Okay? So, with alpha theta, we may work a lot with not necessarily the frontal lobe, but definitely necessarily the parietal lobe. In other words, you can be working from parietal to to the somatosensory band or the motor cortex. You could be working parietal to the temporal lobe, right? You don't necessarily have to involve the frontal lobe as much, but you can, especially up here in the top area, because you're dealing with, if you're dealing with visual memories, if you're dealing with someone who's had, they've seen things, literally, they've seen things that they remember or images that they can't get out of their head. You can help them work with that. Now, dysregulation. Let's talk about dysregulation, right? What is it to be regulated? To be regulated means to allow perfect blood flow through the brain. And that means to allow the brain to enjoy its natural state of an alpha state, basically being awake and relaxed and alert, right? Like a happy person, basically, right? To be in your optimal frequency. Many people can't get there naturally. I am there right now, for example, because I've been training my brain so well and so thoroughly, and I'm presently working on the gateway process. And today I've had a very good, restful, meditative session of gateway audio. But not many people can reach that state naturally without the use of chemicals. And that's okay. There's no judgment here. This is a brain shop, right? So we don't judge. And the reason for that is that throughout dealing with the vicissitudes of life, we accumulate dysregulation of the neocortex. Little kinks happen in our brain in specific areas. The parietal lobe is one of the areas that accumulates a particularly large amount of dysregulation as a result of the emotional drama that we deal with in life, okay, in normal life. People who have gone to war and suffered, PTSD through the trauma of war come back and have sort of a diamond pattern of dysregulation in the frontal lobe and right here with visual memories, right? Things that they may have seen. And right back here. And so it kind of forms a very familiar diamond pattern that we find over and over again in people who are suffering from war-related PTSD. And so we're trying to work out and work away that dysregulation. We're trying to massage that away. That's the primary goal of infra-low neurofeedback. Okay, we're trying to massage away the dysregulation, right, in the neocortex by slowing the brain down, by giving it a very, very low reward frequency and inhibiting all of the other frequencies. No activity anywhere. Slow down and then let the brain go so that it can establish its own optimal frequency, its optimal level of cortical arousal. And infra-low neurofeedback is very effective for doing that. Now, when we get into alpha theta, well, we're dealing with the emotional plane because now we're dealing with people who are capable of maintaining sophisticated memories. And therefore, in alpha theta, right, we are training, of course, where the emotional dysregulation exists, because that's the area of the brain that was processing it when the pain occurred, and that's the area of the brain where the dysregulation deposited itself. But we're also training at the frequencies within which the subconscious mind and the conscious mind operate. The subconscious mind being primarily in the right hemisphere, and the conscious mind being primarily in the left hemisphere, as I'm learning very recently. As we all know, the heart being on the left side of the body pumps more blood to the left hemisphere than to the right hemisphere, and therefore all of us have a larger left hemisphere on our brain than the right hemisphere. That's a fun fact that we sometimes overlook. And in this process of growing this difference, I imagine at the time that we're born, the hemispheres of our brains are perfectly even. And in the first 6 or 7 years of life, when our brains are primarily functioning in a theta state, we have not developed that critical faculty. The critical faculty does develop as a left brain activity. Some would call it the bullshit detector, right? The critical faculty does, form at around 7 or 8 years old, right? That's the age that you figure out that there's no Santa Claus and that there's no Easter Bunny and that there's no Tooth Fairy. And hypnosis is the art or the science of relaxing or distracting that left hemisphere so that you could get back into that theta zone, get back into that area of the subconscious and deposit beliefs right into the right hemisphere. But we're going to get into hypnosis in future videos. I'm going to get into hypnosis on future live casts. I just wanted to get this basic foundation out about where we train on the brain and for what. I just wanted to get this. And I hope everybody is doing well. And yes, I do have my trusted ionic foot detox machine right here next to me. And I do intend on using it. But like I said, I've had such a restful day doing gateway brain training, that I really didn't have a chance to fire it up. And besides, I have new basins and I want to use new basins, and I have basin liners. So I want to, stop having to wash basins and use basins with liners on them. And so that's pretty much where I am with that. Wash basins and use. So cool. Wow. Well, that's good. Things are looking good. Things are sounding good. Thank you for joining. I appreciate everybody coming in. Okay. Like I said, you can call in, but I'm going to take the call in sign off. All right. I want to thank you guys for joining. And of course, you have to hear a word from our sponsors.
Gold label quality BiomedRx CBD oil is made from organic hemp that is locally grown, glyphosate free, gluten free, non-GMO, homogenized, third-party tested, and CO2 extracted. Visit www.biomedrxcbd.com.
And I want you guys to remember to hit the like button for our videos. You can also contribute on Patreon, patreon.com/BiomedRx TV or patreon.com/Devin Lockett. I really do appreciate the Patreon contributions. They are coming in, and I do appreciate them. I want to give a shout out to all of the patrons. I really appreciate that. And remember to go to my other channel, BiomedRx TV, okay, and subscribe. All right, you guys know. Thank you. And when you're at BiomedRxCBD.com, you can not only buy CBD oil, but you can also buy vitamins for men and women.
BiomedRx Optimum Woman is the only woman's high-potency full-spectrum multiple vitamin supplement to contain 56 nutrients, including those most important for today's woman, such as calcium for bone health, iron for healthy red blood cells, beta-carotene, biotin for nail and hair health, gamma-linoleic acid from evening primrose oil, octasanol, grapeseed extract, a potent antioxidant important for maintaining capillary strength, and vegetarian digestive enzymes.
Oh, my mic
Visit
is on.
www.biomedrxsupplements.com.
There I go again. That commercial. So I want to thank you guys for joining. I'm going to do more videos about Moldavite. As you can see, I got my Moldavite on. We're just chilling. Going to be doing some more produced videos, okay, this week. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining. Stream health is good.
Hey there, I'm joining for the live stream.
This is my son Kai. Okay, welcome Kai. This is my son. He has his own channel, Kai Lockett, right here on YouTube.
Yep.
So he's a gamer.
Yes.
Okay, no shame in his gamer.
Yep.
So just like my site is, my channel is Devin Lockett. He is Kai Lockett, my son, my number one son, KAILOCKETT.
Yes.
The gamer. Yes. Thank you, son. I love you too, man. Thank you. Thanks for joining me. That was a cameo appearance from my son Kai Kai. So yeah, we're gonna go and enjoy the weekend, right? Yeah. We're gonna get out and enjoy Saturday. Did some sights and sounds and maybe some ice cream, and then we're gonna chill on out. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I always say on BiomedRx TV, I want everyone to stay kind, stay blessed, and stay healthy. But, you know, and I don't want to just say stay cool, because that's my son's line. My son says stay cool. So, you know, I just want you guys to stay, I guess, stay beautiful. Just stay the way you are, man. Just stay the way you are. Just stay. You know what I mean? Just stay the way you are. Thanks for joining, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. All right. Save this video, and then you can go back and look at it. I'm going to be talking about where we train on the brain and why on more future, you know, live streams and produced videos. So thank you for joining, and, you know, stick around. Peace. Thank you.